I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of 3 daughters. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Future Template Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Carolyn Solo, PhD, LCSW, and I am very excited to have with me today Candice Dickinson LMHC, who is an EMDR consultant and private practice owner in Massachusetts in person, and I just found out you're licensed in several other states virtually.
Yes.
And Candace and I actually met exactly 1 week ago today when we did our KAMDR experiential training. So ketamine-assisted EMDR experiential training. And we were actually paired very fortuitously in the experiential training where, we swapped the therapist and client role. So Candace was therapist, I was client, and vice versa. And we just really hit it off, and I thought it would be fun to have her on the podcast. So thank you so much, Candace, for being here. How would you tell us a little bit more about you, what you do, what you specialize in, all that good stuff? And then we can start talking ketamine, which I think will be fun.
I think that's a great idea. So I started my private practice about 3 years ago, and it was really like this journey to like, where am I going to go? What's going to happen? I knew that I wanted to do complex PTSD, but the more I started working with clients, the more narcissistic abuse I saw. And I was even in a point in my life where I was handling some of the after effects of it. And so as I moved forward, I got this training and this specialization in narcissistic abuse, and it's almost exclusively what I do now. And what am I going to do? How is my practice going to be built? What's going to happen from here? I learned about ketamine, and I actually had a friend who had gone through the experience. And so I decided to try and get a little bit more training on it. And I got training from Journey. I got training in a lot of different ways, but overall, I don't always promote it because I really want to get to know my people. I want it to be an intervention that I can use, but not my whole practice. And as I was going through this, I was becoming a consultant, and Danielle Ciccone, who is one of the founders of Ketamine-Assisted EMDR, was a part of the training program that I was with. And
cool.
Yeah, and so as she was developing her program and the on-demand piece, we had built this relationship, and I was like, okay, I really want to take this. I took the on-demand, and then I was like, okay, I need to keep moving forward because I'd already had the training in ketamine. And so I'm like, what is the ketamine-assisted EMDR piece? And it was just a fortuitous moment where we're both in this experiential training together. And I would almost say that a little bit of both of us have almost this irreverent side to us.
For sure.
Yeah. Which is beautiful and fantastic because I'm not a reverent person.
Nor am I.
Yeah. And so that can come out, and I feel if I'd gotten paired with anybody else, it would have maybe come off a little bit more sticky or weird. So
for sure. I think I would have felt a lot more I have to be very protocol centric, which is not really how I do EMDR. And I don't think it is, I've been doing EMDR for a long time, and I feel I've developed a style that works for me. But I was a little worried that I would be paired with someone who needed me to be by the book, and I could tell right away that we weren't going to have that issue, which was awesome. Actually, backing up a little bit, I want to ask a couple questions about some of the stuff you said. So, first of all, I'm always very curious. So you started your private practice 3 years ago, but you've been a therapist for, you said, 11 years. That's when you graduated. So what were you doing in those years intervening before you got to private practice?
Yeah, so actually before that point, I knew I always wanted to work with trauma, but like when you are getting right out of school, like that's not a population you immediately work with. It's not one that you can necessarily say you're specializing in.
Right.
And so I worked with substance use for about 7 years.
Oh,
And I
okay.
worked in like community mental health settings in that point in time. So a lot of like acute mental health and like almost this backdoor to working with trauma.
Like the presenting issue was substance use, right?
Yeah, exactly. Where it's very uncommon where you see somebody with substance use and there isn't trauma attached.
Sure.
Yeah. And so that really built me forward, but I really wanted to help clinicians. And so I was in like a few clinical supervisor positions from that point on. And like, I loved building the people below me, like their clinical skills up. And I hated the administrative work of like, following up with notes and doing this, doing that. And, when I started getting trained in EMDR and I saw like consultancy, I'm like, I really want to do this. I really feel a calling to it. And I have taken to it like a fish in water, which is great.
Yeah, I agree. I think being a consultant allows you to do that mentoring, but without so much of the burden of being in a system, whether it's community mental health or group practice, there's just like, it really allows you to just really focus on the clinical without all that other stuff. And the mentoring. When did you get trained in EMDR?
My official training date was, what was it, like April 19th of 2023. So I seem pretty new on the scene, but like I jumped into it head first as soon as I got into it. One of the things is like I'd just gone through divorce, and so I really spent a lot of my time jumping into trainings and learning about it and implementing it. And EMDR was one of the things that like I almost immediately exclusively did.
So. And I think it's interesting because I don't think necessarily the time that one has been trained has really shows how it's about how, like, exactly like you said, like how much do you implement right away? I mean, I've definitely met therapists who were trained in the early 2000s and are still like, well, I don't do a whole lot of EMDR. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So it's really about the depth to which you go with it that actually makes the difference, I think. And I think the people, like I was very similar, like I quickly moved, like I finished my training in 2020 and I quickly moved to like certification and then becoming a consultant. So it's like, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So, and then you said you got, so Journey, I mean, I know that's Journey Clinical, but can you tell people what that is a little bit more? Because not everybody might know.
Yeah, so Journey Clinical, actually, it wasn't Journey Clinical. It was the Fluent, I think. That's the training program where like they go through.
I haven't heard of that one, actually.
Yeah. So let me make sure I'm saying the right thing. Fluence. Okay, yes. Fluence training. They're ones that do partner with Journey. So Journey Clinical is a site where you can get connected with ketamine-assisted providers. So it connects you with both prescribers and therapists at the same time. So if you're looking for doing like ketamine-assisted EMDR, or if you're just looking to do ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, it's a good way of having access to people who might be in network with you, who might be in your state, and like.
Oh, from a client perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's good for clinicians. Like if you're interested in this, one of the onboarding pieces is completing those Fluence trainings.
Right.
As well. So that you're getting a little bit more background in ketamine psychotherapy. But I went a little step further and I started their like foundations for like psychedelic use. And I've been interested in going further and really going into their ketamine-assisted psychotherapy program. But there is this point of like, what do I want my career to actually look like? And this is something that I talk with people about, of like, what are the things that you actually want with your practice? I remember a conversation with a consultee the other day, and I'm like, okay, like you have this client who might be presenting with more dissociation, and we can go through and there's the like I can identify all the trainings that you can do and we can work together and really build this up. And at the same time, I want you to take a really quick look and ask yourself, like, is this where you want your practice and your career to go?
Right. And you do have choice. Like, I think that a lot of people think there's only, don't have the awareness of all the different ways one can specialize, one can, seek advanced training. And I think that is a really important part of being a consultant, is like helping people see what those options look like and helping them think through what do they want, and that there doesn't have to be just this one way. So when you did the stuff with Fluence, did you do you do sort of ketamine assisted psychotherapy in your practice, or do you the long session, like the sort of psychedelic? Do you do that some, or do you also?
I do.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do like the full psychedelic experience with some clients. Again, a client who needed, like, they're very medication sensitive, so taking some antidepressant regularly would have been more exhausting. She would have had to go through different steps, and it might have actually been more difficult for her, where with like the psychedelic dose of ketamine, we could do a quick 6-week program and get her to where she needs to go.
Oh, amazing.
So like there is some benefit in that component, where it was more of a stabilization of the depression rather than needing it for reprocessing component.
So what is like that 6-week protocol or whatever? What does that look like? I mean, I know some people that do CAP, but I'm just curious, like, what is it for you, that person in particular? What was that 6-week kind of protocol?
So you meet with them really before you go in. You have kind of a preparation session. What are you going to be doing? What should the person experience? How should they move forward? You're giving some psychoeducation on ketamine and what that experience is going to be like. You're getting history gathering. Like, if I were to do that adjunct, this was a client, thankfully, that I'd been working with for several years before we decided to do this. But if somebody came in adjunctively, I would be asking those questions, doing that piece. And then we do the medicine session. The medicine session can be like 3 hours long. I've noticed it's about 2.5 hours when you go into it, and you're there supporting them. You're giving them guidance, even like before you've talked about what works for them, you've given them skills. And so it's a lot of like centering that person into their experience. And then you actually meet within like 24 to 48 hours after the experience, because that integrations point where the brain has a lot of neuroplasticity is where you want to do, maybe you do some reprocessing.
Okay.
Maybe you have the person come in, and I even have people where I'm, even in my practice now, where maybe they're going for IV ketamine, and I'm making sure that like they're coming in and we're doing the integration within that time period.
Okay. So they're doing it somewhere else. Okay. Yeah. But you also can have them do the session in your office, like they get the prescription, they take it when they're in your office, and then right, okay.
Yeah.
And then so you'd have like several, like maybe 6 weeks of that process where you have that one journey session. That's what it's called, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the 24 to 48 hours after. Okay, cool. So there is some EMDR that you can bring in there in that second day, but not like that's the difference with right. So to go, maybe we should transition here. So KAEMDR is different, and so what? When did you decide like, oh, I want to take this slightly different approach? And just so everybody knows, one of the primary differences between what you're talking about and KAMDR is the amount of medication. So like with CAP, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a psychedelic dose where it's a much more like dissociative experience, and there's much less talking. It's much more like the client is having their own experience and you're kind of there for safety and guidance, but you're not like, there's not a lot of verbal exchange. Whereas in KAMDR, they're taking a psycholytic dose, which is a lower dose of the medication, and then you're using it while you're doing the reprocessing. Like, right. So what made you kind of decide like, oh, I want to add this piece, or I'm interested in how this is, complementary or whatever? Like, how do you see the relationship between them and all that stuff, and what got you interested in that additional approach?
What's interesting is that I hadn't done that psycholytic component before, and it was one of the things where I was interested in it because I saw the benefits of like, if there was this neuroplastic point and there was a journey, how could EMDR be helpful? And so I'd been trying to find research. At one point I was even like, is there a way that I look at and see if I can build a protocol around this? And it just wasn't one of those things where I felt confident enough to bring it up and to build anything around it, because there was so much more training. There were so many other people that knew so much more than I did. And I also found that my practice was moving to a different space, and I was wanting to do something a little bit different at the time, and just didn't honestly have the ability to put the effort into building something. And when Danielle and I met, it was one of those moments of like, okay, like I can ease myself down. I can do something else. She has the ideas in place. She has the systems in place, and I can kind of take a step back. It was actually interesting. One of the first certification appointments, meetings that I had with a consultant was actually in my area, where she built her own ketamine-assisted EMDR training. And it was with psycholytic doses. However, I had invited like a friend to go and like check her out, and she started with this consultant. So it was one of those pieces where I was like, it would have been a dual relationship. So I had to find a different consultant at that point.
Yeah. So do you, I guess what I'll say is like, do you find it like, is there an approach that you find works better for you in your practice, or are you kind of combining the two of them, or like how do you see, CAP and KAEMDR like for you?
I see KAEMDR as being the more viable approach for my practice.
Okay.
And one of the reasons for that is because it allows us to do the work without my clients necessarily having to have the finances to be able to do full like CAP, because then they're paying for 2.5 hours of my time along with the hour or so the day after. And like there is a like money viability point to it. Like how can my clients afford CAP and versus like ketamine-assisted EMDR, where we build the treatment plan, and talking with our clients, it's like, I have this option. Is this something you'd be interested in?
Right.
And we add that in to our treatment as we see fit.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah. And one last question before we kind of talk about what you did. Have you yourself done like CAP as a client? I mean, I'm sure like in the training you have to.
Yes.
And you know, what is your own, like, as much as you feel comfortable sharing, I mean, don't feel like you have to,
Yeah.
But like, how do you as a client, like, integrate that yourself, or do you?
Yeah, so I have done some CAP for myself, and it was at points where I found my own reactions being more intense than I wanted them to be. There were points where there were certain friendships that were going away in my life, and I was really questioning what happened, and I recognized like the overreaction that my system was having, and saying like, okay, I need something to help me kind of center myself. And at the time I was working with a therapist and working towards more EMDR, but I needed support in other ways. And so CAP was a way of supporting me in that, is a way of like allowing me and my system to see different things. And it was really interesting because there were different elements to it, of like even my relationship. For some reason, my brain had decided I was water. I don't know why. It was very elemental in nature. It was like, you, Candice Dickinson, are water, and you have the elements of water. And so it like showed my ex as this like big ball of fire, and like I'm around that big ball trying to douse it with a bunch of water. And my friends are just getting like this little trickle stream, and so they're used to like this very calm, quiet peace. And then I took the fireball away, and all of a sudden all the power, the like raging river that I actually was came out.
Got it.
And my friends just weren't expecting that. They weren't expecting that I would become that person, because all they'd seen was this little trickle.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it was one of the ways of me being like, making sense not only of my experience with my ex, but also my experience with my friends, where maybe I wasn't the person that they knew before. And like reconciling those two.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's, you know, quite intimate. Had you done KAMDR as a client prior to the training, or?
No, I hadn't.
Okay.
So that was my first experience with KAMDR.
Yeah, so maybe we can, that's a good segue. So just like brief explanation of like what the protocol looks like for people who don't know is like you take, first of all, like we said, it's a lower dose than like you would have for CAP. So it's not like you're completely out of it. You're enough, you know, connected that you can actually do like EMDR phase 4 processing. And then, so you actually kind of do like light up the target the way we would do in an assessment prior, right before, and then you take the ketamine. It's sublingual, so you like swish it around in your mouth. And then there's these like guidance questions that we sort of ask during that like swishing, so that you're staying connected and noticing your internal experience. You spit it out, and then you kind of go immediately into phase 4, right? So yeah, like I wonder, and again, we don't have to, I can start talking about what it was like for me, and then you can jump into it too.
Go ahead.
So right, so like I was Candice's therapist, and she was my therapist during this experience. And I think the reason I was interested in it for a lot of reasons, but like on a personal level, I had shared this with you, Candace, and I don't think this will come as any surprise to anyone who knows me at all, is I have like very strong intellectualizing defenses, like super, super strong. And I'm very verbal, obviously. So I can like talk my way through like around through everything. And, I'm very insight oriented, like all that stuff. But I can have a really hard time dropping into my body during EMDR. And I would find that very frustrating. Like sometimes I could connect with the somatic response to a target, but not always. And I think I also had this skepticism, which I know came out in the processing of like, does EMDR even work? Does it even work for me? And I really wanted to see what adding this medicine could do. And I will say, I just saw my therapist yesterday,
Okay.
and she and I were talking about the experience, and I was like, it's interesting because like I think I felt really frustrated at first during it, being like, I'm not like dropping these defenses, blah blah blah. But I noticed in the days following that I did feel like there was some more openness, and my system felt more settled, and like very, very vaguely kind of what we were working on was like this, how difficult it is for me to kind of just be in the present and just like be without kind of either like usually like flashing forward and like worrying about, anxiety about the future. And I have noticed that I have been more grounded in that way in the past week. And I think something else I noticed too is I rarely cry during processing because I'm so like, kind of staying in this like heady space. And I did feel like and we were processing for about 90 minutes, like the processing part is like about 90 minutes long. And that like involuntarily tears were coming out, and like that to me was also a sign that like, oh wow, something is happening here. And I'll just share one last reflection, then I'm curious what your experience was. Beyond what we already talked about. So I actually think it was effective. And one thing we did say is like, I think I might need a slightly higher dose of the medicine. I think that probably would help me drop in a little sooner. So that was a good learning from that. Also that I think after there were like 6 or 8 of us. I forget how many of us there were. 8 maybe? 6.
There were supposed to be 8, but then
one pair dropped out right before. Yeah. So there were 3 pairs, right? And the other, we all like, came together afterwards and sort of shared. And I think listening to the other people, I was like, whoa, they had these very profound experiences. And I think I found myself wondering like, why didn't I have that? But I think my understanding of what had actually happened was not, it took a couple of days for it to be more clear. And I do think that some of these people had, for whatever reason, maybe it was easier for them to tap into some of what was going on. But it was just interesting to see that. So, and Candace, I thought like, I like did not edit myself at all with you. I was like,
fantastic.
It was all coming out, and I was just like, I don't know about this stuff. Like, I don't know if this works. I was like swearing a lot. Like I was in it.
Beautiful.
But you were really able to just like hold space for that. And I kind of felt like, I think I also had this like metacognition going on of like, oh no, I'm being like the worst client ever. I'm being such a hard client, which I think
that did come out. Yeah.
Yes. And I think as therapists as clients can be tough because we're often having this meta experience. That's very hard to like, and that was another reason why I was like, oh, this medicine could be really useful because it's going like that. I'm always hyper aware in my own therapy sessions of like, I'm aware of what it's like to be on the other side of this relationship, So I think I found that interesting too, to like be able to step out of that a little. But I definitely think I would I want to use a slightly higher dose, but it was a very, very cool experience and I really enjoyed it. And I thought you were like created such a great container that was really safe and, that let me just kind of say all this stuff that I don't know if I would have felt comfortable saying with some of the other people that were there. Nothing against them, but just like the vibe I got was like, okay, I'm not sure I would have been able to go there.
Yeah.
So I think, that's kind of what my experience was. And yeah.
Can I like an observation that I have is that like you went after me too when it came to the ketamine.
Mm-hmm.
And like I really tried in like my own space to be like, okay, I'm not going to filter anything either. And when it comes to like my own like EMDR in general, is like my brain goes to all of these really weird, fantastical places anyway, and it like makes connections really fast. And so like to see it even like speed up more with that ketamine assisted EMDR, and like I mean, I cried too, which was a surprise because I don't normally cry in general. And it was an observation of like, maybe I do need a higher dose. And at the same time, I was like, but like I cried and like that's not normal for me. And like,
yeah. No, I think that was definitely a sign for me too, that this was something that was worth, like I could see it in myself. And I think that for me, it's so important for me to do experiential things and trainings because it allows me to trust the process more for my clients. Like I'm not going to do something with them that I haven't done myself. And ideally that I have some, like, I feel like I believe in it a little bit, So I don't know. It was yeah. What other observations do you have about the experience and just like the training as a whole or whatever? Like what did you?
One of the things that I noticed was like with my own experience too is like, one, you were great and like you let me go there. I think I cursed a few times and was just like, whatever, I'm just gonna be me.
Once you heard me, you were like, I guess that was okay.
Yeah. I was like, if you can't handle me cursing, you're probably not meant to be a therapist at this point. Like, that sounds terrible. But like with trauma therapy, like I have a video that I'm editing for like a more advanced course in narcissistic abuse with EMDR. And like, I realized like if I were to edit out all of the swearing, you would miss like every single time we stopped and like checked in on anything.
Right. And it's like, okay, so I don't know if I have to have like a warning on these things, explicit training warning or whatever, but like the people who we want to reach will be okay with that, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Of like, oh, this is like, you're going to have to be okay with this. And also I'm in Massachusetts and New England. Cursing is like just embedded into the language. Like it is just so constant.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, that's one of the things that was so cool when I first realized like where you live in the town, like next to my parents, which I go to like frequently. So it's like, oh my gosh, and not far from where I grew up. So like, I feel like some of those things made us have this like kind of comfort with each other, which I've been in trainings before where I haven't felt that comfortable with the person I'm paired with. And that has an impact on like what the experience is like, right? You're like, I don't know if I can trust this person to hold this stuff, even though they're telling me I can. It's like, okay, sure. But if I don't feel it, I'm not going to do it, So, where, like, in general, where do you see things going for you, like, in the future? Like, now that you've done a lot of trainings, obviously, you're working on a lot of stuff. Like, you're a consultant. Like, what are you hoping for, like, for your career, for your practice?
One of the big things for me is like, I really want to build out a firm understanding within the EMDR community on how to work with narcissistic abuse. There aren't that many trainings out there around it. And the trainings that do go into that don't talk about like the preparation. They do discuss some of the like more reprocessing side of things, but what do you actually bring to your client to get them ready for that? and on top of that, like, what are the things as a clinician where we're taking basically this piece that's been so embedded into social media.
Oh gosh, yes.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen so many clinicians where like they look and they go, narcissistic abuse. Okay, so you're just following a trend versus like, no, like this is actually something we need to be talking about, and like the research is pointing us this way, and we need to like. So I was looking at this and going, we need empirically based therapists that work with this population with EMDR. And so I'm within the next month, actually, I'm going to be publishing an on-demand course on just that.
That's so exciting. Wow, within the next month? I didn't realize it was that soon. Wow.
I have recorded everything. I am just editing it, getting all of the little pieces together, ensuring CE credits, and it's actually going to be done right before the conference in August.
And are you going to be at the conference?
Yes.
Oh, exciting. Well, everyone, I mean, as everyone knows, I've talked about before, I can never go because it's too far away. But if you are going to the EMDR conference, you should find Candace. Are you presenting?
No. Oh, okay. So, that's the goal, is like maybe next year I'll present, but I have to put a plug in for my consultant, my mentor, Susie, who owns Precision EMDR Academy. She's actually getting the Emerging Leader Award.
Oh, wow.
With EMDRIA. And she's like getting that and then immediately going and giving her presentation on like working with pre-verbal trauma, which is going to be so cool. I'm so excited. And she's had like so much support for me with like building this course too. And
oh, awesome. So she's really worked with you on that. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
well, that's so exciting. Well, everyone should look out for that course. And if anyone's at EMDRIA, they should find you.
Also, Danielle Ciccone is going to be presenting on ketamine-assisted EMDR.
Yeah, right. I did hear that too. Yeah, so like that's something to look to check out for sure.
Yeah.
And you're a consultant.
I am.
So people can work with you that way.
I actually have some groups coming up in the next fall. So it's on my website. I'm looking at building a cohort. I work actually with Precision EMDR's like decoding complex developmental trauma course as like a guide for my groups, because I feel like, one, you can complete all of your 12 CEs if you're looking at certification, but also I will say that the way that she's built out that changed my practice completely, and allows me to work with my clients faster and get them through and have better treatment outcomes. And so it's like one of those things where I'm like, I'm gonna do it this way.
Yeah. I mean, what more could you want than that? Well, so I will definitely put like your website and all that in the show notes. What's the best way for people to contact you? Where other places can they find you? All that good stuff.
So you can contact me on my website. The best way to like show interest in any of the groups is like, there's actually like a form, and there's like options for you on like what times the groups are going to be. And on top of that, like, email me. I'm Candace at cdcounseling.org. Or text me. I know like that's weird, but like I have my own work phone, and like if you're interested, please feel free to like throw a text at me with like I don't know if it's okay to like put it.
Well, I mean, if you're comfortable with it, I'll put your number in the show notes, but it's up to you. And I know you're on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
My Instagram handle is EMDR NARC abuse, NARC abuse.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's great. So I hope that, I mean, we'll put all that in the show notes, and yeah. And anything else you want to share about you or your practice or ketamine or anything that you feel like is that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, I think one of the big things is like, if you're interested in something, go and find it. Like, with ketamine-assisted EMDR, like if you have even the slightest inkling of it, go and get the training. Or like, these are frontiers that are going to become more mainstream within our like field. And
I agree.
If we don't keep up with it, then we're going to be left behind.
Yeah. And more like, with the way that the, social media and the internet and all that stuff is connected, like clients more and more know about these things. It's not just like we are always going to be the ones bringing them to clients. Clients are going to come to us looking for that. So offering that, having that as part of your marketing, having that as, so you can be the person that comes up when someone asks Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, where is there ketamine therapy in my area, that you're going to be the one who pops up. Oh, and one thing I'll say too is that we did the training virtually. So just know that you can do KAMDR virtually. It's not like you have to do it in person. So yeah, just like that's, you have to get a prescriber to prescribe you the medication, and that's like on the client, but the therapist can give them names of people that can do it. But, the medicine's very safe. So it's fine to do it like in your home and have the session be virtual. So I just think that that's something that isn't always, and I think like the journey sessions, they're longer, and the medicine is, it's a higher dose, like that is something different. But this model, it is actually safe to do virtually if that's what works best for the person. So, well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that we fortuitously crossed paths at this training, and thank you for even with me, like sharing all your knowledge to help me feel comfortable with it, because I had no experience with the medication, and you were like very much like, hey, it's going to be fine. You even like helped me figure out how many doses I had in my I was like, do I take both of these? No, turned out that but anyway, like, it's just helpful to have those. That's something else I'll tell people. I didn't realize the medicine is actually quite inexpensive. I paid like $50 for 2 doses total. And so, it's not like, I think that is something I wasn't sure about before I did it. Like, how expensive is this medicine? Like, is it going to be something that is totally cost prohibitive? What is costly is getting the evaluation from the psychiatrist, of course, the prescriber. But like, having done that, the medicine itself is not expensive. So that's interesting. Well, Candace, thank you so much. I loved getting to chat about this, and I'm sure you'll have people reaching out to find out more. So thank you. All right, everyone, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you next week.